Now, in addition to using divine names to describe Jesus, the Bible also uses divine attributes or characteristics to describe Jesus. And some of these characteristics we saw when we looked at the nature of God, things that are true of God but not true of man. And so some of the things we see in the Bible about Jesus, first of all, his omniscience. In other words, he knows all things. That's what Peter says to him when he comes to him after the resurrection. And he says, Peter, do you love me? And Peter says, Lord, you know all things. And it's an acknowledgement that Jesus does know all things because he is true God. Then there's omnipotence, that he can do anything he wills to do. And we see that displayed in the miracles that he performs, and certainly displayed in his miracle of resurrection. We may not see it quite as clearly in his crucifixion, and yet even there we see God's omnipotence, his power. That Jesus said, no one takes my life from me, but I lay it down willingly. And he works out all things so that just as he said it would be, he's crucified for us, and the power of God to take away our sins and reconcile us to himself, that he works through Jesus. He can do all things that he wills to do, omnipotence. And then there's his omnipresence. While he was in the flesh, he was limited to a place at a time, just as we are. But after his resurrection, we see him going from place to place very rapidly. He's on the road to Emmaus with 2 disciples. Then instantly he's with the disciples in the upper room in Jerusalem. And now, of course, he's ascended into heaven, and he's everywhere. He even tells his disciples before he ascends, he said, lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. And he says, I'm with you, you plural, all of you, or all you all. He's with us always, too. He's everywhere in every place. He's omnipresent. We see other things about Jesus that describe him in the Bible that show us characteristics that are not human but divine. Beginning with John 1, verse 1, where the Gospel of John lays it out. In the beginning, in other words, before there was time, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And we read on in John chapter 1, verse 14 lays it out for us. And that Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That Word is Jesus, true God. And he shows us, though hidden for a time in human flesh, he shows us that he is true God by displaying those divine attributes or characteristics of God.